Hello and welcome to another Game Developers Vlog about Copenhagen Crisis, which is super close to being finished. And I have a lot of things to talk about in this vlog, so I'll structure it like this. First, I'll talk about what remains to be done, what remains to be added to the game for it to be finished. And then you'll get a good grasp of how close we are to the end. 2. What have I added since last time? You can see a few things here that are unfamiliar, I assume. And then a few thoughts on what the game is and what it's turning into. I think you'll find interesting, coupled with some gameplay, and I'll maybe mention a few of the bugs that remain to be fixed, ironed out as well. There are 3, I think. So let's get to it. What remains in the game? For it to be finished, bare minimum. Well, a win state so that you can win the game, and a lose state so you can get a game over. I don't consider a game a game if you cannot win and lose. So you lose by losing all your health, essentially dying in game, and that happens when the enemies attack you, claw at you, which they do when they're in reach. They do that, you take damage, your health goes down, you can see the health in the top left corner there. But doesn't matter how low it goes, it can go to minus 4 billion or even more, 6 trillion possibly. It doesn't matter, the game won't end. And then you can see a little leaf thing down there. That's one thing I've added. This one here, I'm pointing with the heart because I'm in the level editor mode. This thing here, those are the things you need to collect to complete the game. Collect all of them and you win the game. But you can collect them, but that won't change anything. The game will just keep going anyway. Then I'd like to add a few sort of aids or polishing touches like a help screen. I could write just a text file and include it in the game, of course, but I'd like to add a help screen that tells you how to control the game, what the rules are, what the various pickups do, that sort of thing. A little manual that you can access at any time. And of course, as the level editor is going to be included with the game, and you can edit your own level and play that, that should also have its explanation. Would be difficult to use otherwise. Some of that might go in a text file, don't know. What else? Well, some flair. I've been making this simple illustration. It's not going to be very complex at all. As you can see, it's just a picture of the main character on top of a car, and there are going to be some rats that are chasing him and that he's shooting at. Super simple, maybe not even a background. But maybe I'll use that, and that will be the title screen, which will appear when you start the game, and then a little text which says press enter to play or something. It would increase the presentational value of the game quite a bit, I think. So possibly that, not sure. Is there anything else I'd like to add? Oh yes, right. If I go in here again and point around, you can see nearly all the graphics that I need for the game to be graphically complete are there. Really, there's only one thing missing, and that's an inner angle for this structure here. This is supposed to be, these are buildings, these turquoise things. They are the roofs of buildings. And there's not an inner angle here. I haven't made that yet. Shouldn't take long. And then I'd like to modify these a bit with regards to the colors here. That's it for the necessary stuff. So you can see it's very little. If you know something about programming, I think you understand how little it is. But even so, that I could enumerate them, like there are 5 things I want to add, basically. So that's how close we are. And then, of course, I need to make the level, which this is basically a start of the level here. What you see here might actually be in the final game, at least some of it. I need to make that and iterate upon it, meaning playing it, seeing if it works, how's the difficulty and all that. But that's it. Then maybe I'd like to add a few things such as sewer grates, flowers, some trash, some chimneys, television antennas, things that I can place here and there just to give individuality to the various houses, the lawns, the pavement, so that it doesn't all look the same as it does now. Even though colorful, it's sort of stiff, if you know what I mean. Well then, what have I added since last time? I think you're familiar with this green stuff. That's a grenade you can pick up and throw. I'll show this later when I show gameplay. The hearts, they give you more health if you lack any. Up here you can see this. It says health, 100 of 100. Ingredients, that are those. Ingredients are these leaves that I talked about. It says 0 out of 2 because there are 2 in this level. 1 over here. Annoyingly, where you can't reach it because you can't walk through these houses nor this hedge. But this isn't supposed to be the final level, so that doesn't matter. Rounds refers to bullets. These are bullet clips for your pistol, so you can shoot. And then something I added just the other day, which is these chocolate bars here. Yes, they're chocolate bars, and they boost your speed so that you can run just as fast as those nasty cannibal rats for a short while. If you pick up another one before your timer runs out, your chocolate boost timer, then the same amount of time will be added on top of whatever you have left. The base amount of time. So maybe if you find a good route through the game, you can run at maximum speed all the way, from chocolate bar to chocolate bar, as it were. And I came up with that just yesterday. I didn't think I would add more pickups to the game, but suddenly it struck me. And that's to do with one of those thoughts I had on the game. Though this is by far not by any means the most sophisticated game I made, because that's Untrodden Lands. It is much more sprawling. But it certainly is the most sort of solid and fun game I made. And I mean that in the sense that I think this is more accessible to more people to find amusing than Untrodden Lands is. Although I'm sure there are some who would prefer Untrodden Lands to this. It's a completely different kind of game. This is easy to pick up and play. It's easy to understand the mechanics, the goal of the game, the objective. And it feels surprisingly good. I didn't expect to be making a game that feels this good to play. I'm surprised at how good it feels. I'm thinking, have I made a good game? Really? Is something that would be recognized as a fun game to play? quite a thrilling thought. And even though this is still just an exercise, I'm not going to sit here and make this into the, if I were so inclined, I would probably spend another year on it and try to make it a really good game with more levels, more advanced gameplay, just a bit at least, and just more polish, really. Lots and lots of more polish, which it could certainly use. But even as it is now, it seems very amusing. And I think it can especially be interesting for speedrunning, which is when you try to complete any given game as fast as possible, even though it might not be an innate objective of the game. It's very popular nowadays, and I think this could be a good game for it, with the cars moving randomly, but you are able to jump on top of them and ride along, and they are the fastest thing in the game. So you would have to develop good car strategy, as it were, car riding strategy, because at every intersection you have to decide to stay on or jump off. You can jump off whenever, because of course you don't know where the car is going to go next. If you're lucky, it goes the way you want. So how do you use the cars most efficiently, both to get away from threats and to optimize speed? Then of course these chocolate pickups, that's why I added them. I thought that could be an added speedrunning factor, and just a fun part of the game, of course. Then there's the placement of the enemies in general. The way that they work in game makes them very random and unpredictable. They are stupid and they're really easy to outsmart one at a time, but that's not the way the game works. They can come from just about any direction at any time, because that's how they work in game. You don't know how many are in the stage at any one time, nor where they're going to come from. This makes it so that every single time you play is very likely going to be different from all the others. So to be able to run the game efficiently or fast, you'd both have to understand how the game works and get good at it. Understand how the controls work, how the enemies move, best route through the game, but also learn how to use those cars in the best possible way, etc. And tackle the randomness. So even though I didn't really try all that hard to make a really good game, I just tried to make a decent game, I think it actually might be rather good. Tickles me to no end. I've already gone on for quite some time, so let me show you some gameplay before we end this video. Switch into gameplay mode here, and I pick up some grenades. This leaf, oh, and there we have some enemy rats. The rats always spawn as neutral, and then they turn into these crazy cannibals. Now let me pick up some chocolate and observe how I start running faster. See that? And I pick up all the chocolate in the game immediately. So I have quite a long time before that timer runs out. Yeah, don't know if it's a minute or two. Bang, bang. While I'm playing, I might talk about the bugs that remain. There are basically 3 bugs in the game still left. One is that sometimes you can shoot more than one rat with one bullet, which I think is because the bullet sort of remains in game. That splat you see when I shoot a rat, that is actually the bullet. It just changes into a static thing which shows a different sprite, but it is the bullet, and I think that the rats can sort of walk into it and die from that. It should be quite easy to fix. Another bug is that sometimes these neutral rats, these guys that aren't really chasing you, not trying to hurt you, before they turn crazy, like this guy, sometimes they just disappear. Poof, goes into thin air. I think I know what's causing that. It's a bit of a mystery. Lastly, sometimes when you're riding on top of a car, if I could demonstrate that, find a car, you can only jump on top of cars when they're driving slowly. When they're driving fast, they do damage to you, just like real cars in real life. Sometimes when you're riding on top of them, you'll just fall off. I jumped off on purpose there, but sometimes you'll just fall off. And I think that has to do with how the game handles the cars in memory. It treats them as, or they're kept in a bunch, a well-ordered bunch, by the way. But whenever a car disappears from play, either by being destroyed, like so, that's so spectacular, isn't it? It's very you're not supposed to do it, but it's very tempting because it looks so spectacular. That bundle or that stack of cars gets rearranged, and the way the game checks whether you're riding on top of a car or not and how it updates your position can't really handle that well. I have to rewrite that code so that it can handle one or more cars disappearing and rearrange that stack and also update the info with regards to which car you're on top of. That, I think, is all I want to say about this game now. That's the whole presentation. And the video is still really long. Thank you very much for listening to it, this whole vlog. If you find this interesting, I hope you'll subscribe to this channel and like the video, and also check out my various links in the description here. You'll find my website, where this game will be published as a download eventually, and my Instagram and my Twitch account, where you can also get updates all the time. Especially on Twitch, I stream quite a lot and talk about this very often. With that, I'd like to wish you a good time of day and goodbye.